Hi, this is Michael Ernest, and welcome to this introductory video on a CQ program that we've designed specifically for MTech personnel. And if you're watching this video, most likely it's because you've been tasked with trying to figure out various ways of improving MTech's performance as you go into the next year. And so when we look at improving performance, we typically call them initiatives. All those initiatives, whether it's increasing the frequency of purchase of design build projects compared to what we've done in the past, or we're looking for ways of improving or further enhancing our project management outcomes, or any other initiative that we can possibly think of, they're all focusing on doing the exact same thing, which is increasing business value for our customers. So if we take the example of project management, we see that we have an external customer, could be a general contractor, ownership group, all of the above, and we are going to look at doing things better. We're going to look at our work and doing better work to support them more. And ultimately, business value is generated if they perceive that, right? And then we have another customer in that dynamic also, which is all the way on the other side of the fence, which is an MTech shareholder. Ultimately, if we're managing projects more successfully, customers are more happy, then typically profitability goes up, and then that actually affects and serves a MTech shareholder. And we can look at any initiative and we can kind of dissect them into these component parts. They all look the same way. They all end up in this exact same place. And that is, did we create business value for our customer or not? And if we look at it from that lens, it makes it really easy to understand a dynamic that is not so easy to take into consideration when we're deciding what do we focus on and what don't we focus on in terms of initiatives. Because obviously we know time and resources are finite. And so when we look at creating business value for a customer, we see that there are two component parts. One of them is incredibly visible and well understood. The other one tends to be a fairly good blind spot for most of us. So let's knock out the easy one first, and that is when we're looking at creating business value and when we take a look at what goes into initiatives, virtually all the time it has to do with us figuring out ways to do our work better, to become more effective at the work that we do. And obviously then we can train on that, we can put in disciplines, incentives, disincentives, whatever it takes to change performance, change behaviors in order to actually have a better quality work product. That's one component of the business value equation. However, the second component part, the one that's not nearly as visible to people, is that in order for you to actually ring the business value bell, if you will, you have to have a customer looking at that work product and acknowledging it and saying, yep, that's better. My life is better, or this is better than it was before. And only when you have both of those dynamics in play will you actually hit success in any one of your initiatives. You need both to improve what you're doing as well as the customer's got to be able to realize that. And so when we look at where are we with any given initiative or any given effort and say, how well do we do our work product? How well do we do our work compared to how well do we manage customer expectations? How well do we engage with our customer to really understand what are their motivators and drivers so we can align our work and our focus and our resources with what's most important to them? How well do we educate them to make the right decisions at the right times? How well do we push them to have the right behaviors? And how well do we educate and help them understand the right way to perceive something, a dynamic that's taking place? That has everything to do with deciding, will the customer ultimately approve and say, yep, this was helpful, or you are doing things better, thank you for that. I don't know if you ever have to worry about receiving a thank you, but at least we'll see the acknowledgement in things like better profitability. We'll see things in better repeat types of business, more referrals, less conflicts. All those things can be various ways of people saying thank you. But that is the blind spot, and that's the exciting dynamic that I want to present and make sure everybody sees as they're moving forward in terms of deciding what are we going to work on, what are we not going to work on, and what's the lowest hanging fruit that we can ensure gets us some uptick, and gets them some quick wins, and we don't have to spend a lot of time and money getting it. And so my point is, we're already so good at what we do. Obviously, we can always get better, but those incremental improvements are fine, and we always have to continue to improve what we're doing. But the low-hanging fruit is looking at what are we doing to ensure that our customers really get what we're doing, and we help them behave and understand things in a way that they fully appreciate and comprehend what we're doing for them. And there's no smoke and mirrors in that. It's not around trying to be manipulative. It's truly around helping educate them to making better decisions and having better perceptions on what's going on, what's really going on. And I'm not asking you to believe me. Just test this out for yourself. And you'll have thousands of data points in your career where this exact thing happens, and it happens consistently. How often do we have what we consider a great work product, something that we're really feel good about, proud about, strong about? We can see clearly how we've helped our customer prevent a problem or be able to obtain a result that was important to them. And we're excited, but they're not happy. And we were sitting back, scratching our head going, what? How is this possible? And I wish it would happen just once, but it probably was happening in the last month for you. And it's this example of, we have a work product, but we also have to have the customer getting it. They have to understand what we're doing, and we have to align what we're doing with what they care about most. So I refer to this phenomenon as a blind spot. We all have this to some degree, and there's some really good reasons for it. The first one is that we so much more clearly see the work product side of it. And when we look and say, okay, how could I improve the work tasks or the actual output of work that I'm doing? There are many, many things that come to mind, and we clearly see the steps and everything that goes into that. If I ask people, and I always do, how do I improve the next conversation I have with my customer so they better understand what we're doing for them, and we help them make better decisions? Or how do we ask them, or how do we engage with them to make better decisions on how they're approaching a project or a decision to purchase a project? And inevitably, I get a lot of blank stares, and we don't have clarity on how to do this, and certainly not to the degree that we do on our work product. So there's a natural gravitation to align or stay focused on the things that we understand and we have opinions about, and we shy away from the things that we don't see as clearly. So that's one of the issues. Another issue is that we don't make a distinction between the difference, or the fact that this difference really exists. We need to understand and embrace this idea that, hey, doing our work is very different than managing customer expectation. They happen at different times, they take different skills, and they're just plain different. And trying to address it in a collective mass is just a recipe for failure. And so oftentimes, once again, we'll create a lot of value in a great quality work product, but we won't get the customer appreciation and alignment with them because we just didn't do as good of a job managing their expectations. And then the third issue around why this blind spot continually exists gets into our own neurology. The way we're wired, the way our cognitive unconscious mind works is to kind of keep us propped up and feeling good about ourselves. And in this area of communication, we oftentimes will diagnose our ability to manage important conversations as a whole lot better than it actually is. And sometimes it's because we have confidence in our personality type and the fact that we feel comfortable in social situations, or that we have the gift of the gab, or we don't, and we have less confidence in our abilities. And I'm here to tell you, after training thousands of people in somewhere between complex sales, negotiations, and now in this managing customer expectations through conversations, I can assure you that this is a skill set that anybody at any level can jump in and improve their abilities. And it's certainly not it's not a God-given gift. If anything, it is truly some of the most practical skill sets that aren't just naturally practiced ever. I mean, when's the last time you practiced how do I ask good quality questions, or how do I make sure that I manage an overall conversation in a way that makes sense? Just doesn't happen. We've never been taught that. So there are plenty of reasons for the blind spot. And one of the exciting things is because it has existed, we haven't addressed it. And so when we look for quick wins and low-hanging fruit, we can take the same quality output of work and just do a better job of improving how the customer understands what we're doing for them and helping them help us along the way, and get much more business value created for that customer. Not even changing the output, the quality of work output. Now the exciting thing is, like a lot of the initiatives I'm sure you're looking at, doing both. It's like do even a better job of the tasks at hand, but add on that ability to help the customer work with us better and us work with the customer better. And then that becomes really exciting. And the great news is on this customer management piece, this is not a Herculean effort. We don't need to look at reinventing processes and getting into the real nuts and bolts of what you do. This is, matter of fact, we've created this program that we have here. It's 7 modules. It's 7 modules where most of the work is done, by a student offline in terms of, in their own place. They can observe videos and do some homework on their own. And it takes about an hour and a half a week for 4 weeks. That's kind of nothing. And when we look at what we're asking them to do, it's 100% in alignment with what they're already doing. They're just going to be doing it a little bit differently. So it's not like a massive change. They're already showing up to meetings. The question is, how prepared are they? What are the quality of the questions that they're going to ask? What is the way that they have to focus the meeting on and going in the right direction? What are the things they're going to bring to the table that they may not have shared in the past because they didn't want to be seen as disruptive, or they didn't want to disrupt the apple cart, but now they're empowered to share information in a way that they can see and they know people feel appreciative. They feel like, wow, this person's putting this on the table to be helpful, not to complain. And then what are they doing to complete a meeting where they drive towards clear agreements as to who's going to do what as a result of the meeting? So there's more productivity meeting over meeting. Now that becomes something that is a bit of a different meeting. Same meeting event, same meeting time, a very different outcome, both in terms of customer perception as well as the amount of work productivity that's getting done during the same time frame. So there are a lot of great things about this program that I'd love to share with you in more detail. But at the highest level, it is 7 modules. They have a couple coaching calls at least with me to make sure that they understand what their key conversations are that they're working on, what their key customers are, and that I can help support them and really make sure that they're applying the knowledge straight into the work product that they're trying to get done at MTech. And so there's the coaching calls, and then there's pre-assessment and post-assessments. And the pre-assessments are all about having people become more aware of what does this domain look like of managing customer expectation and managing important conversations. And then the post-assessment is there to demonstrate what's taking place. What have they learned? How have they gotten better? What do they still need to work on? And finally, there's an opportunity for the utilization of a certification test where we can demonstrate an acquisition of knowledge. So this program is designed to support your initiatives. It's not supposed to be its own initiative. As a matter of fact, that would just turn into another training event. If we're just going to work on communication skills, there's no point in it because there's no outcome we're driving. There's no metrics we're trying to get to. So if you're feeling the need to create some significant performance improvement in your area of the MTech business, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see how adding that customer management piece to the implementation or the execution strategy can give you a stronger likelihood of success and some earlier wins along the way. I look forward to talking to you sometime soon, and thanks so much for your attention.